Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session. I am Carole Achramowicz. I'm VP of Product Marketing here at Jitterbit. And I'm happy to be joined here by Jeremy Parker, our COO, and Christina Jacobsen, our Director of Revenue Operations. So welcome to both of you. And also on screen for a second here is Carole Mehta. He's our Director of Product Marketing. He's going to help me control the session here a little bit today. And so if you see a new face, that's Carole. So I'd like to just start by, you've heard the expression, a cobbler's children has no shoes. Well, that's not the case at Jitterbit. We actually do use our own technology, and that's what we're here to share with you today. So I had asked Jeremy and Christina, they've been doing a lot of work recently on integrating some new acquisitions that we've had and really automating some business processes that we have in the company that is really making our operations more efficient. So things like sales order entry and invoicing that are really helping to drive our business growth with the new acquisitions that we have. So I wanted to ask them to explain how they tackled those challenges, where they started to focus and things like that. So if you have a question, there's a Q&A at the bottom, and please feel free to ask those questions and we'll get to them. We want this to be a really open conversation, and if you're curious about something or you want to stop us and ask a question, please do so. So with that, I think I'll get started and throw it over to you, Jeremy, by having you, tell us what was happening at Jitterbit that prompted you to evaluate how you were doing things.
Oh, Carole, thanks for having us on today. It's always nice for us operational back office folks to get a little bit of airtime. So appreciate you having Christina and myself on. But to address the question, Jitterbit is growing both organically and inorganically, and to support our growth and scale from an organic operational perspective, we needed to ensure that our operating systems were in sync, and that we could use them in a highly effective and efficient manner, while continuing to enable our expanding teams and providing the top-notch services that our customers have come to expect from us. From an M&A perspective, it's really all about time to value. And we have found that using our hyperautomation stack has enabled us to candidly accelerate the adoption of our business processes. And when you acquire and integrate multiple companies per year like we do, we've done 3 over the last 12 months, it's really important not to let acquisition and integration plans linger. And by using our solutions, it's helped us ensure that we meet our aggressive project plans, as Christina knows, while ensuring the migration is as seamless as possible.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And I've worked with Christina in the past, so I know the pressure that she was under. But how did you, there are a lot of processes that we have. How did you prioritize what to automate or integrate first? So maybe with you, give us a big picture, and then we'll let Christina share what she did specifically.
Yeah, let me tee it up. So, from an internal perspective, right, absent of M&A, we really look at where we can, streamline and standardize our processes with the goal to increase our efficiency, along with improving, our employee and customer experiences. That's really important for us. Our teams are the one using our back office systems, and we want to make that pleasurable for them and not have it be overly administrative or overly burdensome, and also that follows through into the customer experience. Additionally, as we have grown, the need for business data has increased, just like everywhere else, and often the data that we need resides in different operating environments. So pulling that together and providing that transparency to the leadership team, to the teams that are working in a timely manner, in a really efficient manner, helps us, make better, timely business decisions. From an M&A perspective, we really look to understand what the quick wins are. meaning what do we need to integrate quickly while we work on longer term migration plans. Once you get a better understanding of the acquired business and you know kind of the path forward, we then leverage a lot of the Jitterbit capabilities to facilitate the migration of data, the systems, and our respective applications.
Yep. So Christina, let's throw it over to you. You know, you chose what use cases you wanted to start with, and what the priorities were. So explain some of those use cases to us, and what you started with and how you tackled it.
Sure. So some of the beginning use cases that we did were your common ones when you're just trying to migrate and integrate your main systems, right? Your financial systems and your sales systems. So your CRM and your ERP. So that was one of the big builds that we did using Jitterbit. You know, if the sales team is already entering that data, then why does the financial team have to now go rekey in that data into creating the invoice and such? So if it's already there, let's just hit the trigger, push all that data into the ERP, reduce any kind of manual intervention, and also, you know, just human error of typos, etc. So just integrating our systems. We also use different systems for our, you know, just running any business. If you have your employee expenses in one platform, and if you have other platforms where you're using other parts of your department, you are able to just put all of that into your ERP to manage your financial systems. Or if your sales teams are using different tools to manage, you know, their leads and drive other parts of their business, that they can actually put all of that into their CRM. So we've built all of those. The minute there's that same data that needs to go into another platform, we've built those just between systems. So that kind of makes the M&A a little bit easier, because as we have these as we start to acquire these companies, we have these processes that they can adopt from our integrations that we've already built. So that's the biggest one, is moving between platforms. We also use Jitterbit to mass load data, right? So we're grabbing all of this data from a different system from these acquisitions, and we're putting it into ours. So then that way we're working out of the same platform. We're not going to maintain 5 different CRMs. So we have all these different companies. We have them come into and adopt our systems. And then just in general, right? Data hygiene. So when we're doing mass cleanups and we decide to adopt a new process, it's just easier to use Jitterbit to do these mass cleanups. So, and I think probably between integrating the systems, mass loading data, and then just replacing tools. Just sometimes we've gone into other companies and they have these little apps that do little things to move data across objects. We eliminate those apps because Jitterbit can just do that, you know, just by pushing from one object to the next. Some of these free apps, you know, also we're not too sure of how secure they are. So we do get a little bit concerned about the free apps not having the tightest security. So we feel also really comforted knowing that we're just staying and keeping our data within our own platforms and pushing that around.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think Christina, that's a really good point. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay,
but, you know, in the world of exploding apps, right? I think there's an app or a system or a platform for just about everything. And I've seen a lot of them over the course of my career. I think you touched on a really good point. You know, what you buy an app, or you get one, you download one for free to solve a particular use case or a data need or something to that effect. And you push your chair back a few years later and you realize that you've got this tangled web of operating platforms that are trying to interact with one another, or you're trying to get data, and it becomes really complicated to unwind. So one of our core values, right, is to really use the systems that we put in place in the most, like I said, in the most highly effective and efficient manner. So using our hyperautomation stack, we don't tend to have the need for a lot of different disparate apps, because we're using our systems to be, or our services to be able to tie it all together.
Great point, Jeremy. So Christina, in this process, what were some of the major challenges that you encountered?
I think in terms of like our M&As, probably the largest challenge will be when, there is no process to streamline, right? So everybody's doing things all over the place and differently. So it's really hard to grab all of that data and then automate it. So it's always that initial, back step of establishing a process, adopting a process, and really not, I think they always say keep it simple, right? So not over engineering it. So then that way it's adoptable.
Yep. Makes sense. So let's just talk about, I guess, best practices. What can you both share in terms of how you approached it from a high level, the processes that you attacked and the priorities that you placed on the project, and tactically how you rolled it out. So let me throw that over to you, Jeremy.
Yeah, really, really good question, and always something that we spend a lot of time on. But I'll talk about it from at least from where I sit and what I see. I believe that documenting your as-is processes and workflows along with your desired end state is probably the most important thing to do, right? Spending the time to truly understand your current operating environment, and more importantly, those of the companies in which you're going to acquire, meaning really spending time with a day in the life of how that team operates is time very well spent. And the reason why I say this is that it can help you identify the gaps, not only in your internal operating practices, but in the operating practices of an acquired entity, and allow you then to prioritize the steps needed on your automation and/or, integration journey. Often what I've seen, and we try to avoid, right, is you rush to fix something without really understanding the upstream or downstream impact. And then over time, unwinding that fix, it typically takes more time, effort, energy, and it's costly, which tends not to be an overly fun conversation with your CFO or your finance teams, or candidly the users of your system, because you're kind of pushing them in one direction, then you're telling them to go a different, and you do too much of that, and you start to cause some confusion in the organization. So I think for me, really, it's just understanding not only where you are, but where do you want to go with that growth vision in mind.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to automate bad processes.
You do not want to automate bad processes, but then you almost got to step back and take a little bit of time, to understand it before rushing into, the fix.
Right. Yeah. I mean, as we've done that recently on the marketing automation side. So we're tackling the process first, and then we're going to automate a better process. So, we're taking our own advice and implementing that ourselves on the marketing side.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah. Christina, what about you? Oh, you're on mute, Christina.
Sorry, they were mowing the lawn behind me, so I had it on mute. So unfortunately, that's passed by now.
That's real time.
Yeah, of course. To Jeremy's point, having these processes already established and thinking about it, not half-baked, right? So I always tell people, why don't you, rather than dig a hole with a spoon, why don't you give me a moment and let me give you a shovel? So we can do things when we think about it from a user standpoint from end to end. Having that process already thought through from end to end, it really makes these M&As easier to onboard and streamline, right? To Jeremy's point, we've had 3 acquisitions in the last year. So being able to show them what we're already doing and that they would be able to capitalize on some of these integrations we've already built. I mean, some of them are just really overjoyed, like, oh my gosh, this has taken us like 2 weeks to do this process. And I'm like, no, just enter this data here and push the button and it pushes it to your ERP. And then, it's like mind blowing, right? We reduced stuff from taking 2 weeks to 2 days. And then on top of that, we're going to keep layering the automation. So we're going to take it from 2 days to 2 hours. So something that once took them 2 weeks to do is now could take us 2 hours to do for a billing cycle. So it's pretty exciting stuff. And just being able to capitalize on some of the tools we already have, it's really fun to kind of watch their eyes light up.
Yeah. So just a question on, where's the lift? Is it defining the process? Is it actually doing the integration and the process automation, or is it training? Like you work really closely with the field, the sales force, and, talk a little bit about the time that you have to spend, actually training the field to adopt these new processes, and what, how do they feel about, the significant increase in time that they're saving by adopting these programs?
Yeah, my view, and then I'll let Christina jump in, right? I mean, I think you'd like to say it's a third, and a third, but it's not, right? I've over my time and the time here, right? You usually spend more time up front, right? And then once you get the upfront stuff done correctly and you've got it, the training comes pretty naturally, right? Because you've worked really hard to engage them, excuse me, along the way, especially from an acquired company perspective, that you've rode shotgun with them. You understand what they're doing, and then you're able to articulate how they're going to be doing it in the new environment. And typically that comes with some improvements, and you also learn some things along the way. So usually I would say that the bigger lift is really making sure that you understand, your own processes, which we've done, but taking the time to understand the acquired company's processes and systems and tools and how they interact together and how they use them every day. That's typically the bigger lift. Then from an integration plan perspective, it takes a little bit of time. You learn some things along the way, but that's kind of how I'd frame it up. So Christina, maybe you got some color to add.
Yeah, absolutely. So, taking that time up front, I mean, with these M&As, or anything that we're doing, my biggest thing as a change manager is I take the time to interview my users, right? I do the discovery work, I do my due diligence, and we make sure that we cover all of the use cases and things that you actually want to automate, right? You don't want to automate something that you're only like maybe touching 5 times a quarter. So you want to be able to find out where the frequency is, where the need is, or maybe where the risk is, right? Where is everybody just typing all over the place? Yeah. And we're losing that consistency. So then you have to do the timeout. All right, so how do we build this so then that way everyone's consistent, so then that way we can be humming, right? We want a well-oiled machine. So I think that the onboarding part makes it really easy once you've already solved everything from end to end, rather than having everything just be the Wild West where they're just typing all over the place. I can just say these 5 clicks, that's all you need to do, and then we push and then we go. So I keep telling the finance team right now when we're automating our ERP is it's kind of like a crock pot, right? You want to set it and forget it. We want to just be able to set it up right, and then you can just forget it and then just let it do its thing.
Yeah, it's great. So let's talk about the outcomes. You've tackled a lot of processes in this past year and a half, and with multiple acquisitions. Give me the big picture, Jeremy. What did it allow us to do better? You've talked a little bit about it, but summarize, I guess, what you feel were the biggest outcomes from these projects.
Yeah, let me. I mean, I'll let Christina go into it in a bit more depth, but let me kind of tee it up a bit. And as I stated, right, M&A is really all about time to value, and being an acquisitive company, it's also important for us to ensure that we don't introduce integration fatigue to our employees, meaning having us keep legacy acquired systems and or processes in place for long periods of time, which candidly can introduce, to Christina's point, a lot of manual burden or a lot of double keying or double entry to our teams, and it also introduces a fair amount of risk into the business. So leveraging our capabilities, we found that we can get to steady state 2-3 times faster compared to using traditional onboarding of and or acquired companies, which means employees, systems, customers. I'd say additionally, since we quickly move through our migration plans, we are also able then to kind of capitalize on system synergies and cost savings. So we're not having, to Christina's point, multiple CRMs that we're interacting with. I've been at places where you have those for an extended period of time, and you almost end up getting placed, and you're like, we'll just keep using them, and you're able to get rid of those and recognize the cost savings from it, and get everybody on collaborating on one set of systems and one operating platform.
Right. I would imagine for reporting purposes too, it makes your life significantly easier.
Oh, geez, absolutely. I mean, it makes it easier for the teams to interact. It makes it easier for us to understand our lead to assurance, not even just the cash, but to assurance process, so that we understand all of the data flows and the processes. So absolutely.
Christina, what are your thoughts?
Well, from us, all day long, I think one of my things is when I see the sales team or the finance team or anybody typing in this data already in an email or somewhere, and then it just getting lost with a 50 email thread. Why wouldn't you put that data into somewhere that you can actually then integrate and push everywhere, right? It's reportable. You can see the current status of everything. Somebody's on vacation. You actually know where somebody can pick up the baton and carry the torch, right? So you're reducing risk, not just time, but for me, I just always want to make sure that once I start to see that, everybody's putting something, it could be within the same platform, it could be pushed to another platform. If that data is going to be used anywhere else, I want to just make sure that I just push that data to the next place. So then that way we can eliminate, the time and just the touches there. So, our finance person has reduced her workload by 60%. So when we're going through these acquisitions, we haven't had to necessarily get more billing people, right? More people pushing the invoices. They just adopt our process, and she's able to just be able to hit that same button, and then it works across all of our subsidiaries.
Yeah, that's significant, right? I mean, you're not adding a lot more staff. You're letting your current staff work more efficiently and doing more. So we haven't had to increase the number of people working on the team. That's great. All right, so we kind of talked about the challenges and what we did and the outcomes. What's next on the horizon, Jeremy? Where are you looking now in terms of automation and hyperautomation? And how are you deciding what to tackle next?
Yeah, that's a great question. Something that we are absolutely giving a lot of thought to. As I said, as we've grown as a company, so are our products and service capabilities. Right, we've recently added, via an acquisition, along with some internal product development, a low-code, no-code application tool. Right, we call App Builder. So we're currently looking at our operational environment and going through a list of internal use cases where we can use our App Builder product within our platform. For example, our customer success team spends a lot of time with our customers and is doing QBRs, and they often want to get a certain amount of information out of our ERP so that they can have a better dialogue with the customers regarding how they paid, what invoices are outstanding, etc. And instead of providing them a license, which can be expensive, and or creating weekly, daily reporting out of a system which tends to be manual and requires a person, we're working on how do we layer in an app that makes it really easy for our customer success team to go in, search, and find the current status of the customer. So several of those that we're working on. So I'm super excited to continue to find little areas like that with the hyperautomation stack that we have.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's you've already implemented the integrations to these large systems, CRM to ERP, and with those integrations in place, you can look for those kind of micro apps or mini apps, if you will, to even boost the productivity of the team without having to layer in more SaaS big SaaS applications. So I love that. I love that idea. We have lots of ideas for how we can use it in marketing as well.
Oh yeah, the minute they introduce something new, my wheels are already spinning. Like, to be able to give more visibility, Jeremy's point, we don't have to buy more licenses. I can just, get the sales team a real good 360 view of the entire customer status. How they're using our product, where are they at with their finance? You get the full view. So
that's great. Well, that's sort of what I wanted to cover today with the both of you. And any last words or thoughts before we close? I think we've answered the questions from the participants in the Q&A. But Jeremy, any last thoughts from you?
No, thanks for having us on. Like I said, so it's always great to spend some time talking about all the things that we get to do and handle and deal with each and every day. So thanks for letting us come on and talk a little bit about all the things that we're doing.
Sure. Christina, thank you. I know you're doing all the work behind the scenes, and we appreciate you. But if anyone has any questions for us down the road, please, reach out to us. we'd love to hear from you. And we hope we gave you some ideas of how, we're using our own technology, maybe some ideas for you to use our technology as well. So with that, I will close and wish everyone a great day, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.